Hi YouTube. This time we're going to talk about the top 7 most influential Yu-Gi-Oh sets of all time. We're going around what decks came in them, what really good staple cards came out of these sets, and how they changed the game. It's basically how much each one of these sets warped the game into how we see it today. Yeah. So I guess we'll start off with Aaron.
Yeah, so at number 10 we have Star Strike Blast. So besides coming out with like the Karakuri engine, which was relevant for its time, and they'll soon find a place in the ABC deck. A really important tuner came out of that set, Glow Up Bulb. He was used in a lot of decks. Everything that was running the plan engine, Glow Up Bulb was just like the best tuner. Like Spore was its only competition. And it also came out with Vanity's Emptiness, which didn't see like play in its time. But a little bit later, Vanity's Emptiness, as like everyone knows, became
a $50 common.
Yeah, became one of the most used floodgates, like one of the strongest.
Probably the most expensive common of all time.
Yeah,
and the main set.
The Royal Oppression replacement, pretty much.
Yeah, in times it was more broken than Royal Oppression. At times. Number 9, we have Gladiator's Assault, which by the name we get Glad Beasts. One of the decks to win Worlds, right? It's one of those.
Yeah,
worlds?
The normal monster version with
the Andals. Yeah. Bestiari, Gyzaris, Heraklinos. We get War Chariot later, right?
Maybe.
I think we get War Chariot later on another set. Gladiator's Respite. There's a lot of cards that come in here. It was probably one of the main contenders for Teledad, even though Teledad was probably the better deck at the time.
Definitely.
By far.
Yeah.
But Gladiator's Assault was a defining set. It produced a set that won Worlds.
Yeah. It also came with Light Imprisoning and Shadow Imprisoning, which are still really used side deck cards. Like, whichever format requires them, they're usually in the side deck for people. So number 8, we have Duelist Alliance. This set came with 3 very powerful decks. Shadal and Stellar Knights, they wrecked the OCG pretty much, but we got the addition of Burning Abyss, which has been relevant for about 2 years and continues to stay relevant.
It's looking for its 2nd Nationals win, which is
matter,
ridiculous. None of the decks ever done that.
Yeah. So, like, that set was obviously powerful simply for the 3 super strong decks. Like, it was just really good.
Alright, number 7, we have Invasion of Chaos. Probably one of the most popular sets of all time, including Blackluster Soldier, the Chaos Envoy Dragon.
Yeah. It's a really iconic set.
Yada, Garasu, Chaos Sorcerer. It's any light and dark deck that's come out in the years has a card from IOC in it. It's a very powerful set. There's many banned cards from this set.
Yeah.
If you want to look at all the banned cards that are in it, I'm sure you'll find a lot out of IOC.
Like around 2009, a very popular deck was Twilight. That deck would not have existed without this set because.
Domination of Chaos.
Yeah, anything like that.
That card was in there too, but that's got rated now. And it's not as good as it once was.
Yeah. Okay, so at number 6 we have Light of Destruction. This set was very powerful for a few reasons. The Light Swarms came out in that, and that was one of the strongest decks Yu-Gi-Oh has seen, like, period. Like, definitely up there.
Supposed to Judgment Dragon got number 2 on our Boss Monster count.
Yeah, and Judgment Dragon is one of the strongest boss monsters in, like, Yu-Gi-Oh history. It also came out with one of our first really relevant hand traps besides, like, DD Crow. It came out with Honest, which was an incredibly strong card, especially when it was at 3. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh hasn't seen 3 Honest since, like, the first hit.
And then especially Beckoning Light, grabbing him back.
Yeah, Beckoning Light was super strong with it. And also came out with, like, extra Gladiator Beast support in the form of Ready Ari, which he was good against Teledad, so it gave Gladiator Beast the fighting chance they needed. It was overall a really strong set, but mostly for Light Swarm.
For number 5, we have Metal Raiders. It was the second set.
It was
the second set of Yu-Gi-Oh! We had cards such as Solemn Judgment, Heavy Storm, 7 Tools of the Bandit,
Mirror Force.
Mirror Force being the biggest. Mirror Force and Solemn Judgment being the biggest ones.
Yeah.
It started getting us into the game a little more than Legend of Blue Eyes. Legend of Blue Eyes was like a very, very rudimentary starter set.
Yeah.
Metal Raiders really actually got us into the game. We had cards like Thousand Dragon and things like here, collectible cards, but cards such as Mirror Force were being used pretty recently.
That card was like $40.
Solemn Judgment's still banned. Heavy Storm's banned. Heavy Storm's probably one of the best cards in the entire game. It is still banned at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is the Black Forest and Sangan.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good cards in this set.
So at number 4 we have the Duelist Genesis. So this is the set that introduced Synchro Monsters. We had Stardust Dragon, Goyo Guardian, Thought Ruler, really iconic Synchro Monsters. Also came with Charge of the Light Brigade, which gave Light Swarms an even bigger boost to make them even stronger. Yeah, they were super consistent after that. And then it also introduced a whole new type to the whole game. Like, we didn't have psychic monsters before the Duelist Genesis. It was released with Emergency Teleport, Psychic Overload, Mind Master. Just the first, like, psychics in general came out of this set.
And brought Teledad into its own with E-Teleport and Kribons.
It created Teledad with Emergency Teleport.
Multiple Goyo Stardust.
Yeah.
Number 3 is a set that changed the game
for the worse
for a long time. It's probably introduced the best deck that's existed.
Yeah.
It's very... We're talking about Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy. We have the E-Dragons, the Elemental Dragons. They basically ruled the format for a very long time. Draco Sack came out in this set.
Spellbook of Judgment.
Spellbook of Judgment, probably the best. Like
that's the best Yu-Gi-Oh card.
That is the best Yu-Gi-Oh card ever created because of its because it can go +9. Especially on a Christian from the deck. It's not a Christian. You can put it on Jowgen, but you can protect it with Fate. So you just sit there. They can't do anything.
Yeah. And then, the Elemental Dragons.
The Elemental Dragons would span 2 formats. They had their full broken format where they're at 3 and everything, and they have a second Plant Ruler format. Blaster, Tidal, Tempest, Redox. They all had to be banned because in their own respective decks, they're still too good to be played.
That set really just destroyed Yu-Gi-Oh for what it was and just made it super broken where nothing else could compete. Like the only other deck that even was half relevant was Ophion just because it could stop both of them in its own respect. So at number 2 we have the Phantom Darkness, and this is a really powerful set in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not really, I wouldn't say it's iconic, but one of the most iconic Yu-Gi-Oh cards came out of it, Dark Arm Dragon. This card was one of the most horrifying cards when it came out. Like, Teledad was the strongest deck probably in Yu-Gi-Oh history by numbers. Like, Elemental Dragon I think was stronger for its format, but Teledad won more YCSs than any other deck to exist. Dark Arm Dragon could just easily be dropped, and he's pretty much the set, in my opinion, is Dark Arm Dragon. I think Allure of Darkness came out.
Dark Grepher, a couple of things.
Yeah, it was a super strong set for just dark support, and it's still, some cards are still used, pretty much Dark Arm Dragon in some decks. And
Allure just came to 2.
And Allure is at 2. Dark Arm Dragon is still at 1.
Japan brought him back for a format.
Yeah, they were that was a mistake. That was a mistake.
For number 1 is our set that we think completely changed the game forever in cards that were brought out.
And this one for the better. Unlike
some other ones. We're talking about Duelist Revolution. We have cards released like Valor, Solemn Warning, Scrap Dragon, Pi Duality. Those cards changed the way the game worked from release. Like Pi Duality, any control deck could play it. If you're just it's a massive advantage. And just sitting there. Valor stops your opponent's effects dead in its tracks.
Although Valor wasn't super good when he first...
Yeah. Warning was ridiculous. It's still ridiculous today. It's at 1. Scrap Dragon has been used in multiple formats.
Yeah. He was just a staple level 8 synchro in most decks when you can plant synchro needed him. Yeah.
You could pop a token and pop something on their field for free.
Yeah. So this was the top 10 most influential Yu-Gi-Oh sets in history. In the comments you can leave what your favorite set is or what you think the best set is. These are just what we think were the strongest sets, whether they changed the game or introduced a deck that took its format completely. Overall, just really strong sets. We hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. This was Top Tier Gaming. Bye, YouTube.